Hello and welcome to our 2022 Alumni Day panel discussion. I'm Eric Thomas, principal of Worthington Kilbourne High School, and we have 6 recent graduates of our school with us today. Please take the microphones and introduce yourself. We'll go down the line.
Hi, I'm Gracie Burford. I graduated in 2019 and I go to the Catholic University of America.
Hi, I'm Sydney Streets. I graduated in 2019 and I didn't go to college.
Hi, I'm Grace Carlock. I graduated in 2019 and I go to Miami University.
Hi, I'm Ella Brown. I graduated in 2021 and I go to the University of Dayton.
Hi, I'm Michael Lashik. I graduated in 2021 and I go to Coastal Carolina University.
I'm Carson Codd. I graduated in 2020 and I go to The Ohio State University.
Thank you very much. We will have a Q&A discussion with our panelists to help our current students and families learn more about what they can do now while they're in high school and prepare for college and career. My first question is for Grace. Grace, what is some of the most important things students can do while they're in high school from your perspective?
I think getting involved in things that you're actually passionate about, not just things that can go on your resume when you're applying to college, because you can follow those passions as you continue through college. Also, I think just taking classes that are challenging to you. I took a good amount of classes in high school that I feel like prepared me for as much as possible for what college would be like. And so for me, I knew I wanted to go in science, so taking those AP sciences was really helpful. But just being mindful about what you might want to do and start exploring that now so you don't have to do all the work later.
Hey, Michael, in terms of preparing while you're in high school, is there anything that you look back and say, man, I wish I would have done this while I was in high school? That might have helped me now or in the future?
I think for me it was picking up on study habits. There's never a time where I didn't really study for a test or anything, especially with exams in college and things like that being so much bigger and more difficult. Finding good study habits is really good to do in high school rather than find out in college what you kind of need to do for tests and things like that.
So getting involved, this is a question for the general panel. Do you feel like at your university or beyond high school that there are things that you can get involved with? Is it pretty easy to find a club, an activity, either on campus or even outside the campus to get involved with activities and things of that nature? Anyone want to take that?
So I go to a pretty small school. I only have like 3,500 students undergraduate, but I've always found that it is fairly easy to get involved if you just are willing to look for different opportunities. Almost every school is going to have like a long list of these random clubs, intramural sports, club sports. There's different ways that if you're an athlete in high school, maybe you're not playing in college, you can still play your sport in college. I guarantee it. If you were interested in student council, if you did student council in high school, there's student government in college. There is almost anything you're interested in high school. There are ways to get involved in college. Same with there's campus ministry at most universities. There are so many ways that if you just have any interest in I want to meet some more people outside of academics, I want to meet some more people outside of my dorm. There's going to be bulletin boards everywhere. There's going to be people sending you emails all the time about different things. Just go to a club. You don't ever have to sign your life away. You can just go to one meeting and never go back if you didn't like it.
Yeah, that's been my experiences with students who graduate, is that there are clubs where they're very involved, where you're meeting several times a week, and then there's clubs where it might be once a month.
Well, I think also if you didn't go to college, going on to Facebook, I know people think it's for old people, but there are so many Facebook groups that you can look into. For me, I didn't go anywhere, and so just typing in something I liked on Facebook and seeing that all these people liked it too, and especially type in Columbus, Ohio, then you find groups that meet here. It just helps out a lot.
Sydney, you didn't go to college. Can you tell us a little bit about your journey from from graduating till now, and some of the things that have been of interest to you, and sort of what your career aspirations might be?
Yeah, so I loved travel, and I didn't really know what I wanted to do, so I didn't want to jump right into college. So I actually moved to Puerto Rico for a year and just kind of explored their culture and just had fun there. I met a lot of cool people, and then I kind of figured out what I wanted to do, and I love skincare and all that stuff, so I went to a trade school and I learned how to do all of that stuff, and then COVID kind of messed it up a little bit, but I got to meet really cool people, and now I get to work in the beauty industry.
Great, great. Ella, this question's for you. UD, you're an hour away. Do you feel like you're far enough away from home? Is that too close to home? What do you think when you're taking a look at a university or college, the distance from home, how much that played into your decision?
So originally when I was looking at schools, I so badly wanted to be far away, and I don't think I realized how far an hour can feel. Some of my friends at UD see their parents every weekend, and then some of them got dropped off in August and didn't see them again until Thanksgiving break. And so I think just finding a school that's right for you rather than focusing on a distance, you can make something seem as close or as far as you want it to.
That's wonderful. And then, Michael, you're out of state. So how far is coastal Carolina? How far does it feel? And then how far is it? Like if you're driving to school, how long does it take you?
For me to get to coastal, it takes about 8 hours. When I first was looking into schools, I wanted to be in-state until I stumbled upon coastal. I found it to be in an area that I knew, in a place that I knew people. And now that I'm home, I realize that it was a good choice for me to be away from home, only because I know I'll have family close by. I will miss my mom and dad a lot though this semester. But I think, I just wanted to get away from Ohio, try something different, and I think it's been a great experience so far, so keep it going.
All right, great. Carson, you're at Ohio State. It's down the street. Is it far away or is it close?
It's a mix, because it's always nice having the chance to go see your parents on the weekends. And my brother, because I'm a twin brother, and he goes to Otterbein, and it's really nice to be able to see him on weekends or have him come down and hang out for a little bit. But it is, you do get a little missed out on the fact of being away from home, because sometimes I feel like you tend to do things differently knowing that there is no kind of fallout plan and you can't just go see your parents. So it is a little different, but I definitely personally like being able to go see my mom on the weekends.
That's great. I'm going to start back down at this end, and I want you to tell the audience the class that you think you took at Worthington Kilbourne High School that best prepared you for college.
Oh, I forget what it's called. But it's Mr. Buck's class. His history class prepared me the most for college of any class I've ever taken. And I took amazing classes at Kilbourne. We have the best teachers, truly. But he taught us freshman year. He's like, I will teach you how to take notes correctly. And he did it. And I still have my notebook from his class. I keep it in my desk at school. I've taken it since I went freshman year for good luck. And it prepared me better than any other class because I had no idea how hard it is to take notes in college in lecture classes or in 18-person classes. There's so much content that you're receiving at one time. You're reading textbooks, you're trying to do this variety of both. And he really explained early on how to properly do that and to be able to practice that then through high school to then be ready for college was just invaluable.
Sydney, you were in Puerto Rico. Is there a class that prepared you for that experience?
Not really. I would say more just the teacher that helped me. Being with Mr. Trombetti, he gave me so much life advice, and I still come here and visit with him every once in a while, and I still keep in contact with him, and he's just a very smart man.
That's great.
For me, it's a tie between Mr. Green's chemistry class and Mr. Totner's physics class. For reference, I'm going to be a high school science teacher, so those are really applicable for me, but I just think being pushed harder than I'd ever been pushed before was really important for me to see that I could do hard things. And when I got to college, I felt like in my general chemistry class, I already knew what was going on. And when I started physics last year, I already kind of knew what was going on. So I'm really grateful for what they taught me.
I'm going to have to agree with Grace on Mr. Green's chemistry class. Not only did it give me a really good understanding of chemistry and a good background for when I will go into my science classes later in college, but like she said, being pushed that hard and learning how to work through something that's really challenging is just really important. And then you know that as a student that you don't have to give up, you can just keep going and that you'll succeed.
I think for me, being a business major, I think it had to be financial literacy with Vincent. And then Mr. Buck's class as well, definitely, because, you know, I really learned how to take notes in that class. But I think, yeah, Mr. Vincent, you know, was a really good teacher, really helped out with a lot of what I actually do in a lot of my business-related classes, and really helped me get prepared for what I really wanted to do.
Great.
For me, it's definitely Mr. Jordan's freshman year history. I remember taking notes in that class freshman year and couldn't even read my own handwriting, and it was messy and it was horrible. And then I go and try to study it, and it was pretty impossible. So then now looking back in college, knowing I got to be neat and got to be really like thorough with my writing and notes, it definitely helps a lot.
So this next question, I'm going to probably kick it around to a couple of you. The question is, how important is your college roommate to the success of your freshman year? So I'll start with Ella. College roommate, did you go to the lottery, or did you select your college roommate? I guess I'm assuming that you had one. And then how important is their behavior or your relationship for your success that first year?
So I selected my roommate on Facebook. It's honestly kind of like online dating. You post a picture of yourself and a little bio of things you like to do and what you're interested in, and then you see what other people like to do and you just message each other. So I found my roommate that way. I think that your roommate is important to your freshman year. You obviously want to have a positive experience, but if you don't get along with your roommate, it's so easy to switch. I've had so many friends that have just switched and then immediately their experience changed into a positive one. But also I think it's important to know you don't have to be best friends with your roommate to succeed. Obviously it's nice to like hang out with them all the time, but it's good to have a life outside of your roommate as well.
Without divulging too much information about the other person, did anyone on the panel that had a roommate their first year or first semester where it wasn't working out and you had to make a change? Oh, that's great. That's great. What do you think, Carson, in terms of that first year, that first semester, finding somebody that you can relate to and you know, just be able to study and sleep at the same pattern?
Yeah, so I like met my freshman year roommate through a friend. And so far it's been like he's been my best friend. We've gone on vacation together multiple times now, and we've become really, really good friends. But he's kind of a dingbat, so it really got hard to study. Like I would be doing homework and he'd come over and say, yo, you wanna go like do something? I'm like, I am doing something. So finding a roommate that you can kind of like tell, dude, get away from me, is really nice, and just kind of being honest with him, which I've been so grateful that he's been able to like kind of now read the room a little bit better. But it's definitely important to be able to like communicate with your roommate honestly, and it's made our relationship a lot better.
A few of you so far have mentioned study habits, the study habits that you, or the study skills that you learned in high school, and then maybe the study habits that you have at college. If you were to estimate, I'll go with Gracie, if you were to estimate how many hours a week that you're spending outside of class studying, working towards improving grades, papers, that sort of thing.
So I guess per week, probably like 10 to 15 hours, just because I probably do minimum of 2 hours a day outside of my classes on homework or trying to get organized for upcoming assignments, and then on weekends I'll probably spend like an additional amount of time on harder or longer assignments and projects, so probably 10 to 15 hours a week.
In your college athlete, is some of that time structured for you? Meaning, are there structured study tables that you must attend, or is it on your own?
So my freshman year, I had 6 hours a week of study tables, mandated by my coach. And then once I had a certain GPA level ending my freshman year, I no longer had to go to study tables. If I fall below a certain GPA requirement, I then have to go back, and that's all mandated by my specific coach. She picks what she wants our GPA to be at, and then if we go below that, then she wants us to come back and do study hours. You just turn in your phone, you can't have really anything but your immediate study materials, and you just kind of sit there and hang out for a while.
Okay, all right. Ella, in terms of study habits, what skill have you learned since leaving high school that may have helped? In other words, I'm looking for, you know, I see some students study with music on, then they learn, I can't study that way, or I need to study by myself, or I need a study group. Is there anything that you've learned leaving high school that, this really works for me and it helps me prepare for my classes much better?
I've always personally liked studying with music. I feel like when it gets too quiet, I'm not able to focus. But something that I definitely learned throughout high school that I took with me to college is finding a new place to study. I know I personally get really distracted if I'm sitting in my room by like my bed or my phone or my roommate. So going to the library or even studying in like a dining hall at a table by yourself has been really helpful for me, just so I can, first of all, be in a new environment, and second, not be distracted by stuff in my dorm.
Michael, how about for you, in terms of study habits? Is it easy to find a study group if you're working on something that's pretty difficult? Do you find those study groups within your class, or do people post it somewhere?
Yeah, so for most of my classes that I had last semester, we were all pretty close-knit. A lot of us made pretty good friends out of all of each other. One of the biggest things I will say when it comes to studying, though, and just kind of taking notes, is write things down. Do not take notes on your computer. That works for me. Taking notes on my computer made it a lot more difficult, I guess, for studying, because sometimes my computer wouldn't work, but with writing things down, it just helps with memory and things like that. But when it came to like study groups, in our dorms we have study rooms and things like that just right across the hall from us. Made it really easy to find people and talk to them. And then a lot of our classes made group chats and things like that to communicate like dates for things and homework and stuff like that. It's made it pretty easy.
Grace, what does a typical college day look like? So here, kids report, get off the bus or arrive, 7:30ish, first class is 7:45, and they have classes throughout the day until 3:05, they go home. What does a typical college day look like?
It's a lot different than high school. So for me, my classes have started anytime between 8 a.m. and 10:30, and then some days I'm done by 2, some days I'm done by 4. This past semester, I was really fortunate to not have classes on Fridays, but it really just depends. But I think it's funny because I'll go to like 2 classes in college, which sometimes they're longer. In high school, it's usually 55 minutes. For me, I had some 55-minute classes that would meet 3 days a week, but I would have some hour and 20-minute long classes that would meet 2 days, and so that's different as well. But I feel like I'd come home after like taking 2 classes at college and I'd be so exhausted, and I would think, how did I do this in high school, getting up so early and doing things afterwards? But it looks a lot different. Going to the dining hall, I think that's a different experience too. During the day, I always tried to stay out of my dorm. Like if I had multiple classes in a row, especially freshman year, I tried to not go back to my dorm between classes because I felt that I just wasted time. So just staying out until I came back. And then at night, honestly, studying. I took organic chemistry last year. That was so hard. And so that was just like a lot of my nights were spent studying. And I think sometimes it was hard when I would see my friends hanging out and I'd want to do that. But also, I know what I got myself into. And then honestly, I go to bed at like 9. So if anyone tells you have to pull all-nighters all the time, if you manage your time well, it's not true.
Yeah, that's the key piece of advice I think most people either learn pretty rapidly, is that time management is the key to success when you're in college. Gracie, you're again a student athlete at the university level. I am certain from experience and just relating to students who go off and play sports in college, your day is a little bit different than most, and that you have to devote quite a bit of time to your sport.
Yeah, definitely. So, at least for me, I play Division III field hockey, so I can't necessarily speak about Division II and Division I because there are different timelines, but for me, I am a fall athlete, so pretty much the minute I'm on campus, which is probably like 2 weeks before classes start, I'm at my athletic center that's already like taking about 6 hours of my day, not including classes during season. I have 2 games a week, 4 practices a week, 1 day off on Sundays, and then mix that in with my classes. I probably wake up, have classes for 3 to 4 hours, have lunch, and then I go to my athletic department. I'm there getting treatment. I work there as doing laundry or doing stuff around the athletic department to make money. And then I'm at practice for 2 to 3 hours, and then I'm home again, and then I'll start all over the next day. With traveling too, we have away games almost every week, so I miss classes a lot during season. Professors are really normally very, very helpful about it, but sometimes I get on a bus at 10 a.m. and I don't get back till 3 a.m. that night. So not only are you missing classes, you're missing some really valuable study time if you're someone like me who can't really focus on a bus. So it's a lot of planning in advance too. So my winter and my spring are a lot easier because I'm out of season. In the spring I only have 3 weeks of playing, but fall is pretty much you go and then you don't stop until the end of November. But that sounds like a lot and horrible, but it's really manageable, and I do have plenty of time still to have my friends and to be able to hang out with them and to do the things I'm interested in and extracurriculars as well. Kind of Gracie mentioned earlier, like not having Friday classes, if you can do it, it's awesome. I don't have Friday classes almost, now it's gonna be my second semester. That's when I do hang out friends, when I get to go. I live in Washington, D.C., so that's when I go into the city. It's definitely a lot going on, but there's room in the day to do everything.
I know all of you are on some sort of exploration of what you want to do. Grace, you mentioned you want to be a science teacher. I'm sure that all of you have went through some different thoughts of your career trajectory and what you want to do. But I'm interested, I want to start with Sydney. You took some time off, you traveled. What are some of the things that are influencing you with your interests now? What are some of the things that you're like, man, I was really wanting to do this and I tried it and I didn't like it. Maybe that was an experience for you. Or, no, I have my mindset on this. It's just trying to get a more worldly view of what that might mean for me in the future.
So basically, when I graduated, I had no idea what I wanted to do. My mom had just got married and she went on her honeymoon to Puerto Rico. So I was like, oh, okay, I'll go there. So then I went with my mom and her new husband, and I kind of got to see how everyone lived there, and it was so, I want to say like carefree. Like everybody didn't have the weight of the world on their shoulders. They gave themselves time, and that's what I really liked. And so I knew that I didn't want to go to college where everyone was freaking out, basically. Like maybe everyone's not, but we're in our 20s. Everyone's freaking out in your 20s. So I actually, when I came home, I joined a Facebook group and I met my now roommates, and they live at Ohio State. So I live on Ohio State's campus, but I don't go to Ohio State, which a lot of people think that's weird, but again, we're in our 20s, and I still wanted a normal 20-year-old life while also working every single day and trying to fit in things that I love doing on top of work. So it's like a hard balance when you're actually in the workforce to find time for things that you love. But when you meet people, you find common interests then. So now I love a lot of stuff that my roommates love because they introduced me through their college experience, if that makes sense.
That's great. Yeah, absolutely. I think in our audience, you have people who want to go on to play sports, so they're very driven in that. You have people who want to go into business, so they're driven in that. You have people who don't know what they're doing, and there's quite a few of them watching this now that they don't know what they want to do. And so your experience is unique, and I think it helps people understand, oh, I'm not the only one. And I think a lot of times when we're going to college, we think we're the only one, but we learn soon that there are other people like us, and joining Facebook groups and saying, oh, these are like-minded people, and regardless if I'm going to school or not, I can still learn about myself and learn about my interest. Did anyone go off to school thinking that they were going to major in one thing and have already switched or switched more than one time? Is anyone in that boat where they, wow, that's good. I went off to college and I wasn't sure what I wanted to do, so I started checking off things I didn't like doing, and I ended up majoring in mathematics. I don't know. I didn't want to write papers and I didn't want to do other things, so I sort of eliminated some things, and then that's how I ended up in my major. Jobs on campus. Anyone have a job on campus or currently working while they're attending college? Gracie, you mentioned a job.
Yeah, so I work at my athletic department. I'm like a game day staff person, so basically like I help run all of our like athletic games when I'm not playing in one. So we do like tickets, or you help, like you're actually like a ball person like for lacrosse games or the basketball games, or I mop the floor at basketball games. It's like weird stuff like that, but they hire most of like student athletes because they know we don't have a lot of time to get necessarily regular jobs off campus sometimes, especially in season. So I do that. You can pick when you want to work. It's a couple hours a week, or like I do the laundry for all fall sports. So I come in a couple extra hours before classes in between, and I just do laundry. Stuff like that. I just help out around the athletic department with what they need so that they can pay me, and it's fun, and I know everybody there.
Yeah, and you're in Washington, D.C. You know, the cost of living in Washington, D.C. is much greater than the Midwest, and having money on hand is probably pretty beneficial. I wanted to ask Carson, you started off at one university, now you attend another. Would you like to talk a little bit about your process in terms of evaluating where you were and then finding a place that fit better?
Yeah, so I originally attended Capital University to play lacrosse. And it was kind of a really weird year because it was the 2020 year I graduated, the year all this COVID stuff started. I didn't get my senior season lacrosse. And I really didn't know where I wanted to go to school. And as soon as that happened, that means a lot less, like even looking at different colleges, you couldn't go visit really. And if you did, there was no one there. So I think I chose Capital as like a default, not really sure what I wanted. And I got there, and I was lucky enough to have an awesome roommate that whole year, and me and him still hang out. He's actually at my house right now, and we hang out all the time. But the school just was not a good fit. I didn't like the class sizes. They were, honestly, they were kind of too small, and I think the professors they were involved, it's kind of weird. I didn't like the professors kind of being as involved with me. I kind of like to go out and do my own work and get good grades. So it's probably different than most people, but I really didn't like kind of how small the school was too with meeting people, because on my lacrosse team I'd have like 6 guys in my class that were all on my team, so I didn't really meet a lot of new people. And then lastly, there was not much to do on campus, especially with COVID and being at such a small school. All online, it was not fun. So I started looking at the transition process to Ohio State, and then luckily for me, like I'll say this now, get good grades in high school and keep everything you have, because it made it 10 times easier to transition in. I even called Mrs. McDaniel. I'm like, hey, can you send me my transcript real quick? And this is like, I don't even think you guys were in school, and she just came back and sent it to me, and it worked out really well. But being able to like kind of find the right college for you, like my transition over to Ohio State has been like, my perspective on college has changed so much. I love it. Like I actually can't wait to go back on Monday. Like I'm so excited. Whereas Capital, I kind of dreaded the fact of like going back. But definitely like find the right place for you, because even if you're not sure if it's the right fit, you can even look, and you don't have to change schools right away. But I just know changing schools definitely changed my kind of college path and like kind of my future as well.
I know one of the biggest things that I think our families, by and large, deal with is, how do I pay for college? Like, what does that look like? How much does that play into the decision that I make? There are universities that are costing $70,000 a year, and then you can go to Columbus State for about $4,500 a year. So there's a wide array of universities, and then you got to look at fit and things of that nature. How much did the financial part come into your decision? And I'm just going to start down from Gracie and come on over, and include Sydney too in this decision. How much did the financial part come into your decision, or how much are you focusing on the financial part as you think, now I'm in college, and then a few years from now I'm going to need to start paying back loans and things of that nature?
Yeah, so like I mentioned, I go to a private Catholic university. It is not considered to be cheap necessarily. So if you look up my annual tuition, it's like $70,000. But what's important to note, no one at my university, doesn't matter how much money you can spend on college or how much you can't, absolutely no one there pays $70,000 a year on college. And that's something that's like really a big misconception, I think, is when you look at universities, you think like, oh, that's expensive. That's not in my ballpark. It probably is, because there are scholarships everywhere. And that's something I wish I did more of, honestly, was look for scholarships, because you can apply like for 20 in one day. And honestly, you'll probably get at least something back, because people want to give money to college students. They're begging basically, because they want to help kids succeed. They want the future of our country to be educated and awesome. And so there are scholarships. I have student loans. I'm also fortunate that I have parents who help me with college. But I think financial part was a huge piece for me, and something I learned was that piece about like what you see online isn't exactly what it's going to look like. You can talk to people at financial aid within the university when you're even looking at it to say like, what will this actually cost me? And they will do breakdowns for you even when you're just a prospective student, to help you figure out what it would actually look like to be paying at the university.
Yeah, I had a single mom that worked in the Worthington School District. She was a teacher, and I didn't know what I wanted to do, and I knew college was expensive, so I sat myself down. I knew she was going to pay for my school, and I said, I'm not going to waste your money for something that I'm not for sure about. So that's why I took that time to kind of gather myself.
Yeah, a difficult decision, but very mature to really think about,
Mhm.
am I going to go to school and explore there, or should I explore now and then know what I want to do and then make
I
a
did a
decision?
lot of research and everything to kind of find out what I eventually would want to do in my life, and college just wasn't in that plan.
That's great.
For me, as it turns out, the cost of college was kind of my deciding factor. I applied to all private schools except for Ohio State and Miami. And when it came down to it, Miami was my cheapest option. And I'm so blessed to go there, and I really love it. But I think at the end of the day, looking at what career am I going to do? How much money am I going to make in the future? Is it worth it for me to go to a school that costs so much more for me to get to my same end goal? It didn't feel worth it. And again, Miami ended up working out, and I didn't feel the need to transfer. But applying for scholarships is also really, really important. And it helps sometimes if you already know what you want to do. I didn't apply to Miami as an education major. I applied as a biology major. I didn't think I wanted to be a teacher. And I missed out on a lot of money because of that. So if you already know, it could be a little helpful.
Sorry. So like Gracie, I go to a private Catholic university, and just like her saying what you see online is not what you pay, I could not, could not be more true. I know personally for Dayton, they have a little algorithm where they look at your high school GPA and your high school scores, and that's like how they determine the amount of money you get. And you don't even have to apply for that. Just by applying to the university, that's what they automatically put your stuff through it. And so I'm going to a private school for less than it would be for me to be at an in-state school. And so I think, just like she said, weighing all your options and realizing you can call the financial aid office and ask, okay, what is this really going to cost me? And just continuing to work hard, especially through your senior year. I know a lot of people say that it doesn't matter, but your grades do matter. Even through then, colleges are going to look, and that'll determine how you can get a lot of money, and that could change where you end up going.
Yeah.
Especially for me, being out of state, I'm fortunate enough that my parents are paying for my college, but definitely apply for scholarships. Colleges, like everyone said, colleges do want to give you money, as much as you may not want to believe that. But definitely apply for scholarships. I know for me, I still really need to do that. But yeah, it's just a great way to get money, and especially if your parents are paying for your college experience, I'd really like to help give back to what my parents have given me. So definitely do whatever you can to make your life easier there. And if you're paying it, if your parents are paying it, just make it easier.
Great. And Carson, you have both experience. You have in-state experience, and you have a private liberal arts experience.
Yeah, so I was lucky enough my freshman year in college, where actually at Kilbourne I got a good amount of money in scholarships that really dropped the price down from what it usually would be at Capital. And another big factor too is Capital had probably 10 scholarships you could apply for, and they were free to apply for. You just applied for it, and it also dropped my tuition a lot. So private schools do offer a lot of money for you, as much as weird as that sounds, they do. And then also going to Ohio State, in-state tuition. So I don't live in the dorms this year, and I think that also dropped my prices a lot. I have 2 new roommates, and we pay rent every month, and it is a lot cheaper than living in the dorms. So that will drastically drop your cost of living, especially at a big university. There's apartments everywhere, and there's people everywhere. So if you want to kind of save some money, try to find some friends in an apartment. It'll save you a lot.
That's great. That's great advice. I think we could I think our audience is very appreciative of understanding that that price tag that's listed is not the price tag you pay. That there's always going to be grants, and obviously the FAFSA form that all families are asked to fill out. There's usually some sort of financial support. There's scholarships out there. I think I had a similar experience where the state colleges were more expensive than the private liberal schools for me, and so then I chose a private liberal school, which was cheaper than Ohio State at the time. So that's good. That's good advice. I think this is going to wrap up our Q&A today. We appreciate the people who are viewing our recent graduates. You got to learn a little bit more about the importance of study habits, selecting roommates, having jobs on campus, maybe taking a year to figure out what you might want to do, changing majors, and the price and cost of college. So we appreciate you joining us. Again, Eric Thomas, principal of Worthington Kilbourne High School. We are 6 panelists, recent grads. We appreciate having them here, and thank you very much.